this is looking at the next step that we're going to. We recently completed a week full of problems in which we were asked to find the slope or rate of change. These problems included points and lines. Today, what we're going to do is apply our knowledge of slope to lines, and tomorrow we'll look at how we can use our knowledge with points. First off, it's important that you know or remember the slope-intercept formula, so please write this in your notes, which is the y equals mx plus b. In this formula, m, the letter m, represents slope. The key part to remember is that the slope is the value attached to the x. So take a moment to identify the slope of each of these equations below with me real fast. If we see an equation that looks like this, y equals 4x plus 3, again, I will say slope is attached to x. The slope of this problem or equation is 4. If I was asked y equals negative 2x minus 7, the slope, again, is always attached to x. So the slope here is negative 2. Whenever y is alone, the slope is attached to x. In the third one, y equals x plus 4, the slope is attached to x, and there's no number. Just remember there's an invisible 1 there, which means that the slope is 1. And then in the fourth one, y equals 3, there is no x, which means that there is a 0x there, which means that your slope is 0. So again, make yourself a note or a mental note that if there's no x, then there's 0 slope. Okay, no x means the slope is 0. Just make sure you're aware of that whenever that pops up. In the slope-intercept formula, the b that we talked about represents the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the location on the y-axis where the graph crosses. If you just take a moment with me to identify the y-intercept on each of these lines, you'll see it's actually not so hard to do. Again, when you think about the x-axis is here, the y-axis is there. If you want to know the y-intercept, you simply go on the y-axis till you find the number where it crosses. This here crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4 down, which means the y-intercept is negative 4. This graph here on the y-axis crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4 up, which is a positive 4. This graph here crosses at negative 2, which means that that is your value for b. So again, finding the y-intercept, not tough. Finding the slope of the equation, not tough. And once we understand how to identify slope and the y-intercept, then we should be able to write an equation to represent the line. But before we get to that, let's look at how we put an equation together in slope-intercept form real quickly. That way, whenever we get to it, we'll know what's going on. So watch these problems. If anything pops up that you don't understand, bring your computer up to me or to one of the teachers, or raise your hand, and we'll go from there. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line with the following conditions. Slope of 6, y-intercept of 2. Again, we know that m represents slope, which is 6. We know b represents y-intercept, which is 2. And we know that the formula is y equals mx plus b, which means it's y equals 6x plus 2. Alright? Other than that, hold on. Sorry, somebody is texting me at this time. Here we have m, again, which is slope, negative 3. B, which is your y-intercept of 7. Again, you use the formula y equals mx plus b, and based off of that, you're going to y equals negative 3x plus 7. Again, m turns into 3, b turns into 7. Even on this one, m represents your slope, which in this case is 2.31. b represents your y-intercept, which in this case is negative 1.68. We're going to use the formula y equals mx plus b, and so you get y equals 2.31x minus, because it's negative, 1.68. You don't need to put plus and negative, just put minus in that situation. And then the last one, they give me m, they give me b. Again, using y equals mx plus b, you're going to simply put y equals negative 5x, and again, not plus a negative 1, but just minus 1, because the 1 is negative. Alright? If we're able to write an equation based on the given information, then we should be able to apply our experience and then write an equation based on information that is found. So whenever they're asked to write the equation in slope of a line in slope-intercept form, again, just remember that we need slope and we need y-intercept. So this, again, applies kind of what we learned last week. It wants us to write an equation for the line in slope-intercept, and again, all you have to do on each one is identify what m and b is. We are investigating to find m and b. M in this case, first off, remember to find m, which is the slope. We must find 2 good points. Those are my 2 good points. The rise is 2. The run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my m is 2/5. And B again is where it crosses the y-axis. It's your y-intercept. This here crosses at -3, which means that the equation for this line is y equals 2 over 5x minus 3. Again, your slope was 2/5. Your y-intercept was -3. That's where we're going. Okay. This one right here, again, M and B is what we are looking for. I would always start off by writing those first, just to make sure I know what's going on. But again, with that, your M in this case, there's a good point here. There's none going that way, so we got to go backwards to here. Slope here, I go down, because remember we want to start from the leftmost point. I go down 2, which is a -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like a -2/5. And B in this case is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And so you do y equals -2 over 5x minus 5. Again, slope we know how to do from last week. Just add in the y-intercept, which is again where it crosses the y-axis. Use those two values to plug in your information. Okay? So what I need you to do is, for your lesson credit, remember if you don't do this, you don't get credit for watching the video, you don't get credit for the day. Work out each of these problems on a small sheet of paper, then bring it up to me for feedback and credit for the day. Remember, you only lose credit for not showing me your answers. It's okay to be wrong. So again, just give me the best answer you know for these two problems and bring it up to me, and then after that, get your worksheet and practice on it and make sure you get some work on what's going on. Good luck.